So you've returned to the dojo and you want to know what you can do in order to help train your kung fu to achieve higher states of ascension. Don't worry, I can definitely help guide you in the right path with it when it comes to that. Um, Greetings, this is Sage Armageddon returning to you again with another dojo session. Right? So, how do we train exactly? So, training can be divided into several different steps for what, depending on what you're trying to do. Of course, when we're training, we are training because we're trying to train offense or defense. Offense is not so difficult because it usually involves combos and set play, but defense is a little bit trickier, right? So when we're training, a lot of times players might come into the training room and they'll practice how to do something, right? Let's say something like that, and they'll do it over and over. Whoops, I messed that one up. And over. And I don't know why that's dropping. That's interesting. And over. And over again. And they'll keep doing it, and then they go online, and then they're like, why can't I do this? I'm brain farting, right? Now, one of the sayings that is often used is practice makes perfect, but that's not completely true. Perfect practice makes perfect. And what do I mean by that? Our subconscious, our muscles, our body, muscle memory, we take in what we're doing to the minute details, especially when we keep doing it over and over and over again. And it can get to the point, so much so to the point where we don't even realize that we're doing something, right? That we're doing something in air. For example, if you have seen me playing, if you've seen me demonstrating and you notice that I will drop this sequence right here, and I messed that up, and I'll drop this sequence right here a lot. Right now I'm not dropping it for some reason, but there we go. You notice I would drop this a lot. Without me realizing it, the reason why I would drop this a lot is because I would mash punch and not even realize it. I would hit punch 3 times instead of just twice, and it would cause me to drop it a lot, right? So something that I had to work on is once I caught this, I had to work on only pushing it the necessary number of times, right? So that has made it tremendously more consistent. But that's what I mean is sometimes we'll have habits and not even realize it because our subconscious will absorb our training to the minute details. So when I say perfect practice makes perfect, if we're training to play online, we want to train as if we are playing online to the best of our abilities, right? So sometimes you got to be smart to do that. When you're training something, you want to train it exactly how you're going to be using it. Now, obviously, if you're trying to learn the combo, you got to learn how to do it first. So we're going to set the dummy to not do anything. And then we're going to practice the combo until we get it into our muscle memory, right? And then once you get it into your muscle memory and you're able to do this sequence 10 times in a row without failure, then, and you're able to do it on both sides without failure, there's something that you can do to take it to the next level is you can put a dummy on. You can put it on whatever level opponent that you want and just practice against them. And then gradually work your way up until you get to level 8. And then try to focus on getting situations where you can get that combo that we just practiced, right? Now that combo is going to be a little tricky to do because it's going to require Akuma to whiff very big. But something like that, right? Or if we just practice how to do something like this. This will probably be easier to get, right? Right. Yeah, he's blocking. Yeah, you want to focus on it. It's gonna cause you to play sloppy, but it's okay. You want to focus on doing it. And then once you're able to comfortably do it against the bot, and you feel like, okay, well, I'm able to comfortably do this despite the fact that this bot is mashing in my face constantly, then you want to say, okay, now I'm going to play like I normally would play online, except I'm going to naturally implement this, which is you would implement this if your opponent whiffs something, or if you make contact with them, whether they get hit or blocked. And then you want to make sure you know what to do if they do block it, right? You want to make sure you know how to sequence it if you notice that your opponent is blocked, right? You want to make sure you know how to sequence that, right? So, regardless of whether they're being hit or blocking, so we put the opponent to random block, right? If it's easier if switching between this and this, depending on whether they block or not, is too much, you can just do something like this. Right. Right. That make it the same no matter what. That way you don't have to pay that much attention to that. But the key thing is get that bot and then fight the bot like you would normally play. And don't focus on it once you become good at doing it. Play normally. Do what makes sense in the moment, right? And then when an opportunity comes up to do it, then you do the move that you just practiced, right? So, and then eventually you'll go online and you'll follow those same steps. When you go online, you'll probably revert back to the previous step, which is just focusing only on this. And then once you're comfortable doing it online against real players, then you will play for real and implement it into your gameplay organically, right? So we want to know how to set up our training so that we can replicate this as much as possible. Like I said, first stage, we want to make sure we know how to do the thing that we're trying to do, whether it's a combo or a sequence. Let's say you want to maximize on this. You want to know how to get a combo off of this on counter hit. We would set the dummy to block after first hit, and then we would set the counter status to always counter hit. So no matter what, it's going to be the first attack in the sequence is going to be a counter hit. The reason why we put it to block after first hit is so that way the dummy will tell us if our timing is off, right? And then we can do the spinning bird kick. I said, first you want to make sure you know how to do what it is. Take it slow, right? This sequence is challenging because you can only get this combo if the jab is a counter hit, because the crouching medium kick won't hit. The reason why is because on a standard hit, you only have 5 frames to build advantage, but if you get a counter hit, you have 7 frames, which means you can combo into this, and you can combo into this, right? So obviously you achieve counter hits when you hit your opponent as they're trying to press buttons. So if they mash, for example, if we go ahead and put the dummy to block all, and then we set the block reversal to a crouching light punch, that's how we get our counter hit, right? And we know that we can do that. All right. So, but you don't have to necessarily do that. That's just to show you how and what a counter hit is. Now that we know that, we can replicate this by setting it to always counter. Now, the thing that's tricky about this is you don't have it's a very quick sequence. You have to notice that you're getting a counter hit on your opponent. And then you also have to be charging in order to get the spinning bird kick. You see how it's not coming out? Because you have to be charging at a specific time. You want to be charging almost before you jab. So you want to jab, and then as soon as you push square, or whatever key or button it is, depending on your peripheral for your jab, you want to already be pushing down and going into the crouching medium kick. Then by the time the crouching medium kick hits them, you should have the charge enough to do the spinning bird kick, right? So it's tricky. You want to try to something that I do for this specifically. I said this isn't how to do this, but I figured I'd help people with it. Is after I do the jab, I push on my thumbstick. I click down back as if I was blocking low. And then I do the spinning bird kick by pushing up forward as if I was jumping forward. As you can see by my inputs there. See? Like that. See? That might help you with this sequence. But back to the main point. So we're going to set this to counter hit, and then you want to practice doing this sequence 10 times without fail. This is something particularly tricky, right? But you want to practice doing it 10 times without fail. If you fail before you hit the 10th one, you start all the way over from scratch. And you keep doing it. This can get rough, especially for something like this. Like I said, I don't blame somebody for not wanting to do this sequence. This is a very hard sequence to do, even for higher level. Even for high level Chun-Li play. As you can see, I'm dropping it there, and getting it 10 times in a row is not easy. Okay, I got 6 in a row right there, but I think you get the point, right? The point is you want to be able to do that on both sides 10 times in a row. And we got 6 again. But you get the point. So 10 times in a row without fail on both sides. And then once you do that, you take it to the next step. You set the bot to random. So we're going to set the bot to block after first hit, but we're going to set the counter hit status to random. This way we can track. We don't want to do a spinning bird kick if they block the medium kick, because then they're going to destroy us, right? We only want to do it if we get a counter hit or a punish. Sometimes you get a punish counter, but if you are able to do it 10 times in a row consistently, then you have the timing down. You don't have to worry about your timing being off because you have 2 more frames. So it's going to be okay once you get to this point. Hey, you want to pay attention if you have a counter hit, right? So you can tell if you have a counter hit or something like that. You see the sparks coming off the opponent. Very noticeable if you have a counter or a punish counter. If it's a standard hit, the sparks are very small. It's not a lot of them. See, there's almost no sparks. Very little. Very noticeable difference, and super noticeable difference there. So you can use that as a visualizer, but you also get a flag that pops up that tells you what type of hit it is on your side of the screen, right? As you can see there. So we're going to set the bot to a random counter status, and then we're going to practice only doing the spinning bird kick if we get a counter hit. Or a punish counter. If you really want to test your might, only do it when you see counter hit, no punish counter. No, that's tricky. Right. And then likewise, you want to do that 10 times in a row, both sides. Make sure you got it down. Right. Same type of thing. Then you would take it to the next step. Another step would be set the bot to random block. And same sequence. right? And how hard you want to push yourself is dependent on you. If you think 10 is too much, I can understand if you lower it to something like 5. Um, but if you really push yourself, you'll really get this down, right? Like I said, this isn't so much how to do this specifically. This is how to do almost anything with these characters. It could be something with Chun-Li. It could be something about like how to do this combo. You want to do it, make sure you can do it 10 times. It could be how to get good Oki off of it. You want to make sure that when you do her back heavy punch, that is +1 or +2 frame advantage. See, that's only 0, so we failed. We will try again. That's -1. That's 0. 0. This one's tricky, right? Very specific timing. That was +1. That's a little bit difficult to do, but you want to make sure that you can do it. And like I said, how hard you want to push yourself will only make you better at doing it, right? You try to do it 5 or 10 times in a row, depending on how hard of a task it is. If you can't do it 10 times, work your way to it. Try doing it 3 times in a row. Then once you're able to do it 3 times consistently, then work your way to 5, then 7, and then 10, right? Break it down, simplify the steps for yourself, so that way you can get better without it being torture, right? That's it. This goes for anything. It could be doing a combo. Right. That's 10 times in a row. Make sure you can do it on both sides. Though, to be honest with this combo, it really doesn't matter. But perfect practice makes perfect. Your mind is going to view this orientation differently. So if it's not used to doing it in this situation, you might still mess up, even if it still is the same input, right? So you would try to do it on both sides 10 times in a row. It could be something like as simple as this, right? Something like that. Even something as simple as how to do a special move, if you're having trouble with that. If you're having trouble with drive rush canceling, practice it. Whether you do it raw or the raw motion by double tapping forward, or you click LT on the PlayStation controller, just practice 10 times in a row, both sides. Right? Now, with something as simple as this, you don't need to set counter statuses and stuff like that, right? But I think you get the point. 10 times in a row, then you want to practice it against a bot. Let's go ahead and set the dummy to, you can do something like level 5 if you need something to start, and just focus on getting this against them. And then you can set it to level 8, focus on getting it against them. And then once you become really comfortable, learn how to use it organically where it makes sense to do so, right? You'll fight normally. And we're getting pieced up by an Akuma bot. It's Akuma. Whether it's a bot or not doesn't matter. See, and then you would do the same, rinse and repeat online, right? Like we stated earlier. So I think you get the point when it comes to that. That's how you would train things like that. If you're trying to work on a trait such as spacing, first you want to make sure you know what you're doing with it. You want to know what you can whiff punish. With moves like this, these are typically used to whiff punish certain moves. So if we get Akuma to whiff this, that's hard to whiff punish on reaction. See, we know he's going to do it, so it's going to make it easier for us to do it. But if we have him do it randomly, let's see if we can go ahead and See? That's going to be hard to do on reaction. That move is tricky because his hand goes back pretty quick, right? That's going to be hard. Something that can be whiff punished more easily is going to be something like this. Right. So we want to make sure we know what we're looking for. Slow moves like that. Or if he does a heavy punch as well. That's something, you know. You want to make sure you know what character you're going against, what you're trying to whiff punish, and make it make sense, right? And then you'll practice whiff punishing it, right? You can also practice, you can also do other things in the settings to help set up your whiff punishing as well. You can do things like block reversal if you wanted to know what to do if your opponent blocks something and how to catch them. Right. So we're going to set the bot to do that on block, and then we're going to set it to block all. Obviously, if we do this, we're too wait. That's the wrong move. Sorry, crouch medium. we're too close. So there's absolutely no way we can ever make him whiff this unless we jump. That's the only way that's happening. But we can't move back and make him whiff that, right? He's gonna hit us. But for something like this, right? You can get a feeling of it. Right? Then once you get used to, you get acclimated to catching a whiff the limb like that, then you can set the bot to do nothing as well. All right. Okay, Kuma doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to just sit there. He's determined to do that crouch medium kick. Alright, I think you get the point there, right? You want to practice things like that, and then, like I said, you want to make it more and more organic as you go on. Then, after you do something like that, you're gonna set the bot to do like we did here before, which is something like this. Oops, I ran into that one. Alright. I'm too close to him. Right. So I think you get the point there. And then you want to get more and more organic. Now, the thing with defensive maneuvers like that, it's going to get harder and harder as you continue to, as you continue to climb this little ladder, because it's going to be dependent on what your opponent is doing, and especially when you fight real people, they're probably not going to whiff stuff like that a lot, right? So it's going to get harder and harder and harder, but you get the point. Eventually, you want to try to fight the bot, and you want to only look for whiffs like that and try to punish them. Of course, in order to get him to whiff that, you want to make him whiff it by getting close to that range and then moving out of that range, right? Now, it's going to be a little bit harder. The bots read inputs, so, but it's the same type of idea. I think you get the point. Try to get him to whiff something. If this bot is too high of a level, you can get it down to like level 5 or something. Yep, see, he whiffing stuff there. Alright. Come on, whiff something for me. He doesn't want to whiff any normals that are easy to whiff. How about level 6? No. Now, something like this might be better to do against real players. Real players are more likely to whiff buttons when you get into a certain range. That's it. That's the tricky thing about this, is because defensive maneuvers, trying to do them in an actual game is going to be very hard because you can't control your opponent. And that's part of the reason why climbing to the highest ranks in this game can be difficult, like trying to get to high master, grandmaster, and beyond and stuff like that. That's why it can feel so challenging because you can train against these characters and how to counter certain things, but you can't control your opponent doing them or not. So you have to keep playing and playing and playing until something clicks for you, right? So I can't get Akuma to whiff a crouching medium kick if I go online and fight a master Akuma. I could try to bait him to do so, but there's no guarantee that he'll do it, right? But yeah, I think you get the points on what I mean about how we want to train ourselves. Perfect practice makes perfect. You want to try as best as you can to replicate the actual scenario that you're trying to replicate. And try to make it as organic as possible. Even if you have to record the bot to do something like this, if you want to know how to deal with this, of course, like I said, the first thing that you want to do is get the bot to do it and make sure you know what you're doing. We are plus 13 after that. So you have options. You can technically do this, but that's going to be hard because you have to stand up first. Probably the best option would be something like that, right? Now, what is our combo going to do? We can do something like this. Obviously, we want to try to get Akuma to the corner. So we can do something like this. Right. And then once you get used to doing that, and you're able to counter it 10 times in a row, like we stated, then that's when you would go ahead and start setting it up a little bit more organically. You would take control of the bot, get him to do something like this, and then take it from there, like we said before. Make another recording where he does nothing. Make another recording where he just driving that. Make another recording where he does this. Make another recording. Just to make it a little bit more consistent, make another recording where he does this. Try to make sure you keep the same time as much as you can so that you can't tell just by looking at them what they're going to do. You want to make sure that everything leading up to the next move, their movements are identical or virtually identical. And we have Akuma set up here to do a number of different things, right? And then you would practice how to stop this trap. Right. And I didn't punish that in time. That's it. Now, you're not going to be able to replicate an exact player because real players can indefinitely bait you. They can do stuff like this. And then never do the attack when you think they're going to do it. Right? But the closer you can get to replicating that type of stuff, the better, right? So he did nothing. And messed it up. You don't have to do the optimal thing either. If the 11 frames is cutting it too close, you can do something like this. Still damage, right? We're not playing in Legend, right? So something like that. Anti-air. Even if you don't time countering whatever it is correctly, as long as you pick the right option. Make sure you don't panic and do something wrong because then your body will remember it. For example, if your opponent, if they do, go ahead, Akuma, do something. If he does that and you do drive impact, you don't want to be panicking, right? You want to pay very close attention and make sure you are responding to exactly what they're doing. Even if you do it too late, at least you did the right thing. Oh, I need to push medium punch now. You're telling your brain, this is what I want to do in this scenario. So don't try to push yourself too hard. If it's not coming organically, try to respond to exactly what he's doing here. Make sure you do the right thing. You don't want to do the wrong thing. So let's say if he does drive impact, you don't want to be pressing this when he does it. You want to be pushing drive impact. Even if you do it too late, tell your body what it is that you want to do, and as you continue to practice, eventually it will pick up on that. Perfect practice makes perfect, right? You don't want to do a drive impact when you see them jumping through the air. You want to do that. Now, this isn't to tell you exactly what needs to be done in the actual scenario. This is if you're training. If you're training how to anti-air and you want to use Tensho kicks to stop the jumping, you want to make sure that's what you're using. You don't want to be using anything like this because your goal is to train this. It's training focus, right? So if our goal is to punish drive impact with drive impact raw without pressing anything else, we want to make sure we're not pushing anything but drive impact. Right? So I think we get the gist of what is meant by how we want to approach doing this. So those are some of the tips that I can give on how to train. There's definitely a lot more to it that can be broken down, but this is a basic synopsis for those that don't really know what to do. When it comes to training against matchups, like I said, the Master Series that that I have been working on is going to go over matchup specific things in the near future. But when it comes to matchups, for the most part, you kind of have to just figure that out. There's almost no real shortcuts to that, unfortunately. It's something that we have to be able to take on and work on one step at a time, right? You're gonna have to learn how to set up the bots to do whatever it is you're trying to setups that you're trying to counter. And something else that you can do too is learn the character. If you learn how to use the character, you will have in-depth intel on when somebody is most likely going to try to do something or not. Right? That's why you see some of the highest level players like Punk pick every character. Or in Tekken, Knee picks and plays every character because this allows him to improve his defense. Who better to know how to counter Chun-Li than a Chun-Li player, right? If I'm fighting another Chun-Li, for the most part, I know exactly how to counter almost everything that she does. Because I know what I will do in that situation 9 times out of 10. So imagine if you could do that across the rest of the roster, it would really help, right? But yeah, training the defense there's no shortcut unless you are like Magnus Carlsen or some type of superhuman Ubermensch or something like that, right? For your average person, there's not gonna be much of a shortcut for it other than putting the time in and learning it one step at a time, right? But that's going to be how we train. We want to make sure that we get that perfect training and to replicate as much to the best of our ability what it is that we're trying to counter or trying to learn, right? If you have any questions regarding this training or any of the tips, or if you have tips of your own, feel free to leave them in the comments section below, or take a trip to the Chun-Li subreddit. And if you leave a post there, I promise you I will most likely see it, as long as it's not hidden or anything like that. And we can have a discussion, if you would like, about ways that we can help ourselves to train more efficiently. But that's going to be it for this dojo session. Thank you very much for attending. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you're willing. This is going to be your host, Sage Armageddon, signing out. I hope you all have a great day. Take care.